generally about the business, and thereafter I'll talk about the Indian economic situation, and thereafter about the global steel scenarios, and then Indian steel scenario, and then talk about the JSW Steel per se for the Q2. Now, as you know, the pace of decline in the global markets have reduced and has declined, and therefore there is a very clear signs of situation. Things are improving in the world markets economically. The developed markets are still struggling, but still the pace of decline has slowed down. So that is one good news. India and China are clearly emerging as two large nations which are growing at a faster pace. You all know the Chinese numbers are just appeared, and that is in excess of 8.5% GDP growth for the first 6 months. And Indian numbers are also there is a lot of optimism that it would be in excess of 6.5%, rather it would be closer to 7%. So I think given that we had a very turbulent last 1 year, these two countries are clearly showing the signs of being the engine of growth for the whole world, and that augurs well for us in India. But besides this, even the global recovery is happening. The countries which were in recession, whether US, UK, Germany, France, they are no more in recession. They are now coming back, and they are all looking to show positive GDP growth in their own countries. Similarly, the consumer confidence is coming back. The capital markets all across the globe are rebounding. In the developing world, they are rebounding much faster and much robust. But in the developed world, the capital markets are also rebounding, though not with that pace. Liquidity or credit situation, credit is now much more easily available, and liquidity, there is a lot of liquidity in the system, and the credit spreads have narrowed down, which had already expanded because of the risk appetite had reduced by the banks globally. Now the banks have started to relax that bit, and it is being narrowed down. Industrial production all over the world has started to improve. This is basically because a lot of stimulus packages were given, which were well coordinated by all the countries all over the world, and that helped to sort of reduce the impact of this global financial crisis that hit the world during last year. So that has also the stimulus package has really worked for a very quick revival of the global economy. The stimulus packages which were given to the world in various countries must be actually continued to see that the growth which is now, we are seeing the signs of growth which is happening, should be continued, because even till date the worldwide economies are still not in a very robust situation, and any sort of withdrawal of stimulus packages or putting in some sort of new conditions could really put the whole system off track. So I think it's very important that the stimulus packages globally must continue and must remain well coordinated as they are today. Coming to India, I think Indian situation, as I mentioned, is relatively much stronger. Government did a fantastic job last year by bringing in various stimulus packages to stimulate our economy, and that has really helped tide over this crisis, and the industry has really responded quite well. In the first half of the year, I mean, now you saw the August numbers are coming to 10.3%, 10.5% of the industrial growth, which is a fantastic and a very strong number. And hopefully this stimulus package that Indian government had issued would continue and would take us through this difficult period. Talking about the steel industry globally, the whole world produced in the month of August 106 million tons of steel. Now, 106 million ton is nearly the all-time high for steel production. The developed world, like Japan, US, Europe, Australia, they produced much less. They are not running at full capacity. They are running at around 70% capacity. Whereas China increased the capacity produced 5% more, and India produced 2% more. India consumed 6% more steel versus China consumed 8% more steel. So I think from that perspective, this demand for steel is very strong in India and in China. Especially in China, it is extremely strong. And so therefore, the steel industry continues to remain in quite a robust situation. Though the domestic market remains very strong from the point of view of Indian market, from the point of view of demand, the only concern is that China is producing a very large amount of steel. Right now they are at a stage where they are producing nearly 50% of the global steel production. In the month of August, they produced 52 million tons of steel in 1 month, which is more or less our full year's production. So that is one concern, because on two fronts. One is that Chinese can always, if the demand slows down in China, they can start dumping all over the world, and that could put pressure on the steel prices. And second is that because of their large demand within the country, the raw material prices are moving up, whether it is iron ore or coking coal, and in particular coking coal prices are moving up, and that's a area of concern for all the companies which are buying the raw materials, which most of the companies are. So therefore, but on the positive side, the Chinese steel production is not a very low cost production. Their costs are high. They buy all the raw materials, so their costs remain quite high, and therefore if they start to dump steel anywhere in the world, then every country in the world is looking to put some sort of restriction on the Chinese export into their country. So in the form of anti-dumping duties and stuff like that. So therefore, a big concern about the Chinese steel getting dumped into a third country is very unlikely, and that is why I believe that the steel prices would remain more or less stable. Today's situation is that steel prices are hovering around $550 per ton. And I believe that is a sustainable level. And if the raw material prices go up, then this price may go up. But as of now, for this year, I think between 520 and 580 is the band within which the steel prices are likely to remain. Last quarter,
that's Sergeant Jindal talking about the steel, his quarterly numbers for JSW, and saying that he believes that $520 to $580 is the price that he expects for steel for the next 6 to 12 months. That is his outlook.